also to that, something, and this is kind of the second question, is it's talking about Dorothea Williams, who's this kind of like ultimate musician who's in Joe's shoes that he wants to be in. And so he ends up making his dream come true, and he gets to play with her, and they walk out of the venue, and he's all hyped up, and he's like, man, like, all right, what next? And she's like, we go to bed, we come back, and we do it again. Yeah. And she says this story that's based off of another famous writer who had his version is like, what the heck is water? And it's like this, it's like someone, there's a fish looking for water, and the fish is like, you're in water. So Dorothea Williams' version is, I think she says a goldfish, and it's like the goldfish is in the ocean, and the goldfish goes up to an older goldfish and says, I'm looking for the ocean. And the goldfish or the older one is like, the ocean, like, we're in it. And he's like, no, the young one says, no, this is water. Like, I'm looking for the ocean.
What's wrong, Teach?
It's just, I've been waiting on this day for my entire life. I thought I'd feel different.
I heard this story about a fish. He swims up to this older fish and says, I'm trying to find this thing they call the ocean. The ocean, says the older fish. That's what you're in right now. This, says the young fish, this is water. What I want is the ocean. See you tomorrow.
So what do you think that metaphor or that imagery is meant to help us see? And then what do you think the advice is that we can pull from that?
Yeah, I didn't know that it was based off of, something else. Like,
yeah, I'll pull up the guy's name.
Yeah,
I can't remember. It's David Foster Wallace, by the way. Also, my dog just started barking like an absolute lunatic.
He was giving us the answer. I thought that was really interesting because it was like, okay, like, on one hand, that whole scene is like, he's so excited and he wants to just like go on like, a tour and wants to just like keep it going. But there's this like kind of like dichotomy of like Dorothea is like so experienced and she's had, her character has had those mountaintop moments, like, and now she's like performing at this like successful jazz club. But like, even as you see the scene, it's like, it's not very big. It's pretty like, it's been around for a while. Yeah. Like it's not like modern. And I think that like metaphor is kind of like that young fish is trying to find like this big experience, or like this goldfish is like, the ocean is this, whatever has been promised to him is like this amazing thing. And the amazing thing is the thing that he lives in every day. Yeah. And I think like Dorothea is kind of saying like, there's this kind of difference between like older and younger people. Like, I think she has chased after the things that she's chased after, and now she is content kind of doing the same songs each night and going home and then coming back the next night. But Joe's at the beginning of that journey of like ambition, chasing after it. I don't know. And as I say that, there's this comedian I really like. His name is Drew Lynch, and I don't know if you've seen his stuff.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know. If I've seen
okay. So he like, his whole story is like, he's a successful comedian, but like when he was growing up, and he was like auditioning for movies and stuff at Disney, he like got hit in the head with like a baseball or a softball, like during a softball game, and because of that concussion and injury, he like stutters because of that. And so he couldn't get any of these roles, these movie roles. And so he had to go through like insane like speech therapy, counseling, all that stuff. And he's a hilarious comedian, but he does like a TED Talk on this idea of like ambition, how that's helpful, but then also being curious about things. Like, oh, I wonder if I did this, or I wonder if I went, this way. And I think that's like, I don't know. I was just reminded of that as I was talking about Joe has so much ambition for just one thing. It's so pinpointed, and when it's taken away, then he asks the questions of, well, who am I without this thing that I've created my life on? Yeah. And I think all of us can like relate to that because we all probably have our thing. But then at some point that either is taken away for a time or it's like, I got there and it wasn't what I thought.
Yeah.
So I think that metaphor was like really interesting.
Yeah.
And like, if I'm remembering the scene correctly, like there's no response from Joe. Like he doesn't say,
right.
Right. That was a stupid metaphor, or that's not helpful.
Yeah.
Like she just gets in her car and drives away.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting too.
Yeah.
So.
I think a question that came to mind as you were talking through that is I think there's a lot of people who feel that who aren't creatives, and it's just in life. Yeah. It's a certain job, it's a certain amount of money, a certain romantic partner, whatever. Why do you think daily life isn't enough for us?
That's a great question that I've been thinking about a lot recently.
Tell me more about that. Like, what's been making you like think about that?
I just think about that question, like how you asked it, of like, what is it about, life that we long for more? And is it like, do we just feel kind of bored in our life and want to kind of spruce some things up? I think a big part of it is like, what are we kind of gaining our like satisfaction from? Like, where are you kind of drawing that from? Mm-hmm. Is it your job? Is it relationships? Is it the amount of money you make? Is it whatever? You can fill in the blank there. And how can we kind of find our satisfaction in, I don't know, things that like, actually satisfy us. I mean, as for me and like my Christian background, I've discovered that it's like God is like, I just keep coming back to like, that's the satisfaction, more than anything else. But also it's like community as well, doing fun things, it being summer. Like that's like, I notice like seasons is like a really like huge thing for me. But I think it's like, asking yourself, what are you drawing your satisfaction in life from? And then once you answer that question, is like, oh, do I need to change some things up and maybe put my focus on something else that's actually gonna like give me what I long for as well. I think it's really easy to fall like complacent in our life and don't change things up just to do that. But like, I do think that, I don't know, I think of like little kids that try all kinds of different things and they don't care how it goes. Like they literally don't care if it's like, if it's amazing or it goes horrible. Yeah. And I think that as you grow older, you are faced with like rejection and like fear. So then you just don't like try new things. But I do think that as an adult, when you try new things, you kind of turn into like your little kid self, because it's like, it's really exciting. Even if it's just for that moment. Yeah. And even if it's just for like, I tried it and that was like really fun, and that helped me in my own life.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that's good. I love that. And I agree. And I think something to me that like really sticks out about seasons when I've been unhappy with the mundane, because I feel like that's something in my life I'm trying to face, is how, and like a really kind of scary truth I had to come to grips with even like a couple days ago, was someone, I think it was Jackie Hill Perry, who we've talked about before, talked together about, and she was talking to a video, or she was in a video talking about how like there is a level where if I am turning to certain things to satisfy my longings, that is a statement that as an act, that is a statement that God is not enough. Yeah. And so then I think a lot of us as Christians tend to stop there and we're like, oh my gosh, I need to repent and do all this stuff. It's like, yes, I absolutely get it.
Yeah.
But the next step after that to me is like, so why? And like, or what do I feel like I am not getting in this Christian spiritual experience that is not enough for me? And the reality that I've kind of been facing is, and I think that's why Joe's story hits me so hard when I watch it, is I want what I want. And I think that's going to make me happy. And it has nothing to do with what my friends are telling me, my family's telling me, my spouse, whatever. I want to be the greatest this that there ever was. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there because that's going to be the thing that's going to make it. The problem is that I've been faced with is when that is your end goal or when you have an idol, you tend to sacrifice a lot to it. And you sacrifice your relationships, you sacrifice your mental health, you sacrifice your sanity, you sacrifice your time, money on things that you don't actually need. So I resonate with you on that of just like the practical side of like God being enough isn't just a trite Christian thing that like they taught us in Sunday school to say, like, you know, when someone asks you like, why do you believe what you believe? But for me, it's deepened to be that according to scripture, God loved me and ordained for me to exist as a human being before the beginning of time. So therefore, I don't want to say I am enough as I am, just that I shouldn't mature or grow. That's not what that means. But that means that I was made with purpose, loved, and cared for before I became Mr. K, the teacher, before I became Parable Arrow's co-founder, before I became XYZ things. And I'm even kind of having a revelation now, I need to root myself in that more because when those other opportunities come along, it will be way less difficult to not let that take a hold of me because I'm not fighting back so hard against something because it's like, I know that's not who I am. And I know that's not what gives me my value. And I think I love the scene that you quoted is like that moment on Joe's face where it just, the weight of like, I've been chasing this so hard. Oh yeah. And I got it. Yeah. And it's not enough. Yeah. And you can see that it doesn't make him want more. It makes him be like, oh crap. Yep. And that to me is what makes Soul such a beautiful movie. Is it's like we see Joe then change who he is and go in a different direction.
Just like drops of rain, we all find our way. Just like drops of rain, we all find our way.